Shodhanandana Bratajanarandana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Shri Radhe. Jaya Lalita Vishaka Lalita Vishaka Shri Radhe. Jaya Nitai Gora Sundar Nitai Gora Sundar Gora Hari. Prabhupada 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 Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Triradakacharya Astatara Sata Sri Srimad Abhayacharanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Triradakacharya Astatara Sata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Yashta Praishva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Satam prasangan mamavirya samvido lavanti hritkarna rasayana katha Vajroshanadash papavarga vartmani shraddharatir bhaktir nukrameshyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 17, Mother Parvati curses Chittaketu, verse 28. 6:17:28. Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibhyati svargapavarga nanakeshva apitulyarta darshanaha Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibhyati svargapavarga narakeshva apitulyarta darshanaha Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibhyati svargapavarga narakeshva apitulyarta darshanaha. Please repeat. Sorry. Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibhyati svargapavarga narakeshu apitulyarta darshanaha. Thank you very much. Anyone online like to say those words?
Narayana parasarve
Narayana parasarve
nakutaschana bibhyati
nakutaschana bibhyati
svargapavarga narkeshva
svargapavarga narakeshva
apitulyarta darshana.
apitulyarta darshanaha. Word for word, Narayana para. Pure devotees who are interested only in the service of Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sarve, all. Na, not. Kutaschana, anywhere. Hibhyati, are afraid. Svarga, in the higher planetary systems. Apavarga, in liberation. Narakeshu, and in hell. Api, even. Tulya, equal. Artha, value. Darshanaha, to see. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never fear any condition of devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan never fear any condition of life. For them the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. Purport. Parvati might naturally have inquired, why devotees become so exalted? Therefore, this verse explains that they are Narayana para, simply dependent on Narayan. They do not mind reverses in life, because in the service of Narayan, they have learned to tolerate whatever hardships there may be. They do not care whether they are in heaven or in hell. They simply engage in the service of the Lord. This is their excellence. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. They are liberally engaged in the service of the Lord, and therefore they are excellent. By using the word Bhritya Bhrityanam, Lord Shiva pointed out that although Chitraketu provided one example of tolerance and excellence, all the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord as eternal servants are glorious. They have no eagerness to be happy by being placed in the heavenly planets, becoming liberated, or becoming one with Brahman, the supreme effulgence. These benefits do not appeal to their minds. They are simply interested in giving direct service to the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya. You can all recite. Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Hahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Site Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. Hare Krishna. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So as I started one of my other classes before, well, for one, welcome everyone. We have Kiara here in person, and Mother Jambavati here in person, and online we have Dasya Prema Prabhu, Tarika Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, Chintamani Mataji, Raghunath Pandit Prabhu, Yashadev Prabhu, Y Prabhu, Ananya Bhakti Prabhu, Yashoda Prabhu, Devaki Priti Prabhu, Krishna Sori Prabhu, and Jasenia Prabhu, and Dhruva Prabhu. Thank you everyone for being here. It's going to be glorious talking about Bhagavatam with the assembled devotees. And as I started the class before, I have the Mangala Charanam prayers in front of me. As I started sharing this in another class before, that it's like I'm trying to say all of the diacritics right. So I have to have it in front of me to try to do that. And say that it's so simple. So it's nice we have this simple mantra that Lord Chaitanya is non-different than the Supreme Personality of Godhead brought us. The Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And as we were saying the beginning prayers of glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam, we started out with Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 4, Narayanam Namaskritya. So I think that's pretty fitting because the translation is, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan. And in our verse today, we're talking about the Narayana Parayana, the Narayana Para devotees. who are solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. This is a very famous verse Srila Prabhupada quotes, and devotees often learn it. There's a lot we can talk about from it. We can talk about a few different things. We can talk about duality, tolerance, fearlessness. When Prabhupada quotes this in in a room conversation, oh, actually, sorry, I need to make one comment to the devotees. I have to leave at 7:45 to go to work. So I will end at 7:40. Um, then if anyone would like to carry on the discussion, they're welcome to afterwards. So the emphasis in this is that the devotees never fear any condition of life. So they don't mind being in hell, heaven, or liberation as long as they have the service of the Lord. So in a room conversation, Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing this. So I'm just going to read out what he says. Prabhupada, now you have got science background, book background, knowledge background. Everything is there strong. Make this movement. Art also. Art, literature, science, philosophy, religion, culture, character, everything. Strong background. Let everyone come. You have to try to fashion this. Narayana para sarve na kutasthana bibhyati. If you have got Narayan background, then what is the cause of being afraid? As we heard in the purport, he was saying that means you're dependent on Krishna, the Narayana Parayana. They're dependent on Krishna, and Bibhyati means fear. So they have Nakutashana Bibhyati, anywhere they don't have any fear. So he continues, Narayana Parasarve, Nakutashana Bibhyati, Svargapavarga Narakeshva Pitulyartha Darshanaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 6:17-28. Prahlad Maharaj so much obstacles by his father at home. Still he is speaking to his father. Sadhu manye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna diyam asad grahat hidvatma patam grihamanda kupam vanam gato yadharimashrayeta. Srimad Bhagavatam 7:55. The father was astonished that, quote, after so much chastising, still the boy is speaking the same way, he has not changed, end quote. Hidvatma patam andakupam vanam gato yadharim ashrayeta. Quote, incorrigible, kill him, end quote. Quote, all right, kill me, I don't care, end quote. They have got so exalted character, like Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, all great personalities. Apart from big devatas, Swayambhur Narada Shambhu, Srimad Bhagavatam 6:320, we have got small boys also, as good as Brahma, more than Brahma. Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Prahlada Kapilo Manu Prahlada. Immediately comes Prahlad also. Amayambur Narada Shambhu. Janako Bhishmo Balir Vyasaki. Read Bhagavatam Amalam Puranam. Read yourself, let them read. That is Krishna consciousness movement. There is no question of cheating or getting some material profit out of this movement. We have no such thing. I'll pause here and say one of the verses that's pretty famous. Srimad Bhagavatam 129 and 1-10, they talk about this. So Prabhupada just here said, there's no question of cheating or getting some material profit out of this movement. We have no such thing. And these verses, they say that life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. And they say that we should not cultivate sense gratification for material profit. So continuing with Prabhupada, we have no such thing. Material profit will automatically. My Guru Maharaj used to say, you are thinking of material things, so we should come and fall down at your feet. But why are you worrying? You go on and speak the real truth. And then he says Bengali, go and speak the truth. No compromise. So I never felt scarcity of money. He is from the very beginning. So that's from a conversation, March 27th. It's actually my mom's birthday. March 27th, 1977, location in Bombay. And so Srila Prabhupada is just emphasizing Prahlad Maharaj, he had fearlessness. He said, kill me, I don't care. And then he spoke like that to his father. So um, these devotees, they're fearless in any condition of life. Um, Lost my train of thought, but I was listening to Mother Irma speaking, so I'm going to share some of what she was saying. Um, she was talking about this fearlessness and the qualities of Krishna. So one of them, one of his six opulences is renunciation. And she was saying that's actually the greatest of all the qualities. So we hear from the Vishnu Purana about his six opulences. Vishnu Purana 6.547 says, Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasashriyaha jnana vairagya yoshchaiva shanam bhagaitirana. So jnana, vairagya, knowledge and renunciation. This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, means who possesses these six opulences in full. All richness, all riches, all fame, all strength, all wisdom, all beauty, and all renunciation. So she's saying that renunciation is actually the greatest of all. These devotees are depending on Krishna for their circumstance. So, for example, Sudama Brahmana, this acharyas say he was attached to his renunciation, and therefore Krishna gave him opulence. The devotee who depends on the Lord gives up fear. We're equiposed in Svarga, Apavarga, Narakeshu. So Svarga, the heavenly planets, Apavarga, liberation, and Narakeshu, the hellish planets. And it's like this: Mare Krishna, Rake Ke, Rake Krishna, Mare Ke. If Krishna wants to protect me, no one can kill me. If Krishna wants to kill me, no one can protect me. So we're just under the dependence of Krishna. We can have money, food, clothes, and friends. If Krishna wants to take them away, he can take them away. There's this famous verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:88-8, where Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Yasyaham Anugrinami Rishe Tadhanam Shanaihi Tatodhyanam Tyajantyasya Svajanam Gitam. Krishna says, if I especially favor someone, I deprive him of his wealth. Then the relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. So Krishna favors as mercy, and sometimes that means taking away, and sometimes that means giving opulence. For example, in Bhagavatam 8:22-26, he kind of says the opposite. 8:22-26, Bhagavatam says, Yadyasya na bhavet stambas tatrayam mad anugrahaha. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education, and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you have all those good things and you're not proud of them, you're especially favored by the Personality of Godhead. I'm going to read that short paragraph from that purport. When in spite of possessing all this, a person is not proud, this means that he is fully aware that all his opulences are due to the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He therefore engages all his possessions in the service of the Lord. So, of course, nothing belongs to us, not even our bodies. So we engage everything around us in the service of the Lord. We don't reject things. We accept everything for Krishna's service. So the purport continues. Yeah, this is what Prabhupada's continuing. A devotee knows very well that everything, even his body, belongs to the Supreme. It's like this, I'm going to go off again. Like the Sri Upanishad verse 1, mantra 1 says, Isavasamidam sarvam yatkancha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena punjita magritha kasya svedhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within this universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. And then the translation continues. So Srila Prabhupada continues, if one lives perfectly in such Krishna consciousness, it is to be understood that he is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conclusion is that one's being deprived of his wealth this is funny because it sounds like contradictory, is not to be considered the special mercy of the Lord. If one continues in his opulent position, but does not become unnecessarily proud, falsely thinking that he is the proprietor of everything, this is the Lord's special mercy. So anyway, Krishna takes away and he gives, but we're fearless no matter where we are, no matter what condition. There's this idea of seeing pebble and gold as the same in Bhagavad Gita 6:8. There's these dualities, but they see them in any condition. They're just there's this verse, Oma Pavitra Pavitrova Sarva Vastam Gatopiva Yasmarat Pundarikaksham Sabaya Bhantara Shushihi. So Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu, Shri Vishnu. This is from the Garuda Purana Manasaswan. It says whether one is purified or is impurified, or has passed through all conditions and stages of life, if one simply remembers the Lord who is beautified with lotus petal eyes, he becomes purified both outwardly and inwardly. So in any condition of life, whether it's good or bad, we hear in Bhagavad Gita 257, whether you're experiencing rejoicing or you're experiencing evil, you're equipoised. It says, Yasavatrana Vishnehas tatat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya pragya pratishtata. He who is without attachment, who does not rejoice when he obtains good, nor lament when he obtains evil, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So we're hearing about, oh, I'm sorry I didn't catch you guys up on where we are in the Bhagavatam, by the way. We've been talking about it so much, I guess I forgot. So basically, I don't know, because you also, Kiara, haven't been here and you just came Wednesday. So we're basically hearing about the glories of Chittiketu Maharaj right now. So Lord Shiva is speaking this verse. So Chittiketu Maharaj, we're hearing all about his story, and he actually saw Lord Shankarshan in person after a week of meditating on a mantra he was given. And was feeling a little bit, I don't know what the word is, but after having seen Lord Shankarshan, so then he felt like he could be a controller of his senses and he could say what he wanted to say. So he was passing by in an airplane with and he saw Lord Shiva in an assembly of great saintly persons, sitting with his wife Parvati on his lap, embracing her. So he said, like, "Oh, what a wonder is this!" Like, this is kind of like, whoa. So he says that, and then Mother Parvati curses him for that. And she's like, "You think you can control your senses more than Lord Shiva?" And so she curses him. And then James just put in the chat hubris. Can't remember what that means. Who wants to tell me? Pridefulness, yes. So then, yeah, then Lord Shiva starts talking. So Lord Shiva is just kind of feeling equal about all this. And he starts kind of talking about the excellence of Tritiketa Maharaj and the devotees of the Lord and their character. So, because Tritiketa Maharaj takes her curse very, like, he's just like, he accepts it. He's like, he calls her his mother. And he says, like, let me think, what else does he say? But he's just like saying he's fine with getting the curse. He's like, it's not your fault, it's not my fault. It's just happiness and distress just come. And so here we're hearing about the exalted character of the devotees, one of which is tolerance, one of which is excellence. So Prabhupada was mentioning how Prahlad Maharaj, as an example, in the room conversation, he was tolerant in the face of his father. And we'll also hear about Prabhupada also mentioned Dhruva Maharaj in the purport. So speaking on this duality and tolerance, we hear about in Bhagavad Gita 2:14, famous verse, Matra Sparsikonteya, that one who's not disturbed by the appearance and disappearance of happiness and distress, which come like the winter and summer seasons. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. That's also about the changes of the body in the next verse. So this tolerance of duality, something that these great souls have, and something that is very dear to Lord Krishna. And he says in Bhagavad Gita 12:18 to 19, Dasya Premaprabhu was just talking about this yesterday. He quoted some other verses from this section. But let me just find where I put that. Krishna is saying who's dear to him. And a lot of it is like them being equiposed in dualities. So like fame and infamy, heat and cold, honor and dishonor. Yeah. So Krishna says, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who does not care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. There's a nice short purport to this. A devotee is always free from all bad association. Sometimes one is praised, as we all know, and sometimes one is defamed. That is the nature of human society. But a devotee is always transcendental to artificial fame, artificial fame. Please mute, Ananya Bhakti Prabhu. Can you hear me? Can you please mute Ananya Bhakti Prabhu? The devotee is always transcendental to artificial fame and infamy. Artificial. Distress or happiness. He is very patient. He does not speak of anything but the topics about Krishna. Therefore, he is called silent. So this is how silence is defined. Silent does not mean that one should not speak. Silent means that one should not speak nonsense. One should speak only of essentials. And the most essential speech for the devotee is to speak for the sake of the Supreme Lord. A devotee is happy in all conditions. There's that word conditions again. Sometimes he may get very palatable foodstuffs, sometimes not, but he is satisfied. Nor does he care for any residential facility. He may sometimes live underneath a tree, and he may sometimes live in a very palatial building. Makes you think of Sudama Brahmana. He was like in a very small living, and then he was in a palatial building. You know the story of Sudama Brahmana? Yeah. He is attracted to neither. He is called fixed because he is fixed in his determination and knowledge. We may find some repetition in the descriptions of the qualifications of a devotee, but this is just to emphasize the fact that a devotee must acquire all these qualifications. Without good qualifications, one cannot be a pure devotee. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna. This part is really important. It's the end of it. One who is not a devotee has no good qualification. One who wants to be recognized as a devotee should develop the good qualifications. Of course, he does not extraneously endeavor to acquire these qualifications, but engagement in Krishna consciousness and devotional service automatically helps him develop them. So, the question, of course, comes when we're talking about these great devotees, like, okay, we're not on their level, we don't have that tolerance. And I was talking to Vibrit Prabhu yesterday, a Prabhupada disciple who lives here, about this. And he was saying that, people, may ask, like, what's the process? I'm not there yet. And it always comes back to the answer is always chant Hare Krishna and engage in devotional service. And as you get a higher taste, you'll give up those things that don't give you pure devotional service. And because it doesn't give you that higher taste, param drishva nivartate. Yeah, so something nice I wanted to share, one more thing about fearlessness that Mother Urmila brought up. She was kind of talking about all these conditions and situations we might be in, So like we're not always going to have nice sounds around us, nice food around us, nice weather. Our body's not always going to function really nicely. We might not have nice friends around us. But the something that does belong to us is our will. That is the only thing that does belong to us. So the devotees' archa, their wealth. So in this verse we have tulyarta darshanaha. So we're talking about their equal value. Tulya equal, arta value or wealth. They put equal value on Narakeshu, hell, Apavarga, liberation, and Svarga, heaven. But the devotees' only archa or wealth is their voluntary service to Krishna and their relationship with Krishna. That's their only wealth. She said that's in CC Antya 2037. Lord Chaitanya prays, I want this wealth of love. I just want to be your servant. So she was saying in the heaven of Bhaktivedanta Manor, in the hell of the airport, just equipoised. Everybody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm poor. I'm rich. I'm sick. I'm healthy. Doesn't matter. One's happiness is not the place. One's happiness is not the activity. One's happiness is Krishna being happy. Where am I getting my happiness? You can ask yourself. Some people think they need to be like, okay, let's be miserable in Krishna consciousness. But no, we're all anandamaya vyasat. We're pleasure-seeking entities. So is it some sense object or a mental thing? Planning that if I get a certain result, if I build a certain building, go to a certain place, publish a certain book, get a particular fruit, then I'll be happy. So if I get a certain result, then I'll be happy. If I build a certain building, then I'll be happy. If I go to a certain place, then I'll be happy. If I publish a certain book, then I'll be happy. If I get a particular fruit, then I'll be happy. Really, my relationship with Krishna is giving me happiness. Pleasing my guru and Krishna is giving me happiness, and then I'm fearless. So that fear is coming from okay, so actually we are at time. There's so much more we could share and talk about, but if you're not worried about what condition you're in, there's no fearlessness, you're just dependent on the Lord. Doesn't matter where you are. Does anyone have any comments? We have about 5 minutes until I said at the beginning that I have to leave to go to work at 7:45. And I'll end at 7:40, and then you guys can continue the discussion if you would like.
Yeah, so on this topic of endeavoring seven, or like not needing to endeavor seven for all of these good qualities. The same thing, for example, said about vegetarians, right? We don't separately endeavor to be vegetarian. Prabhupada said, we're not a vegetarian society. But, when we go to the store, we still check, like, does this contain any contaminated items? So there's still some endeavor there. So what, in developing, humility, equipoiseness, all these separate qualities that we don't separately endeavor for, is there any amount of endeavor that we need to do? What's the right? So like with all these different qualities, like humility, etc., is there any endeavor that we need to do that's kind of analogous to checking the back of the positive box to see if it's made with eggs or not? Or is there just like nothing that we need to do? What's like what's the analogous action for developing these different qualities?
Okay, Kalaswarup Prabhu is saying that this idea that we don't have to endeavor separately for these qualities, we don't have to do extraneous separate endeavor, is also spoke about in terms of vegetarianism. Srila Prabhupada says we're not a vegetarian society. But yeah, we still in the supermarket go there and say and check okay, does this food have any contaminating ingredients? Is there like any eggs in it? So we're making an endeavor in that way. So he's saying this question is what level of endeavor is equivalent in developing qualities like humility, etc., and tolerance to looking at the box of ingredients on the egg box and saying, okay, is there something in here that I can't eat when I'm a vegetarian? So that is a beautiful question. I might say one thing and then definitely defer to Taraka Prabhu, see if he has anything, because I also have this question and I haven't been able to figure out like, what the heck. Um, sorry. So, um, one thing Bhakti Tirtha Swami says is that we pray like it depends on Krishna and endeavor like it depends on us, right? So I'll just Taraka Prabhu, do you have anything to say?
I'm not clear on what the question was.
Uh Kalasri Prabhu is gonna come over and yeah. Here, take this.
Hi, well, Prabhu. So there's this point made that we don't endeavor separately to obtain all of these good qualities, like humility, tolerance, etc. And I was thinking because the same thing has been said before about, for example, like being vegetarian. Prabhupada said, yeah, like, we're all vegetarians, but we're not a vegetarian society in the sense that it's not a separate endeavor for a devotee. But on the other hand, there is still some action that we take in that direction. For example, like if I'm getting a box of pasta from Weiss, I check to make sure that it doesn't have eggs in it, or other things like that. Um, so, you could say that's an endeavor or not an endeavor, or like what level of endeavor. So, like the question comes for these other qualities, is there anything that we have to do to develop them? Or is it simply like if I sit down and chant Hare Krishna and then don't think about humility and tolerance or how I'm reaching those ideals or not reaching those ideals, will I just develop them? Or is there an equivalent thing I have to do to like that's kind of analogous to, checking the back of the box to make sure there's not eggs or meat in something?
Easy question. The answer is that simply by chanting Hare Krishna, a devotee acquires all the good qualities of the demigods. All the good
Mm,
qualities of a Vaishnava accrue to anyone who simply chants Hare Krishna, and there is no necessity for any separate endeavor. That's an absolute fact. But
mm,
chanting Hare Krishna, in order to be most effective, should be performed under the direction of a spiritual master. So, so we don't just chant Hare Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna as we are directed to chant by our spiritual master, and we follow his instructions. So that's also there that we don't only chant Hare Krishna, we also follow the instructions of our spiritual master. The spiritual master instructs us in to worship Krishna by our service, how to offer bhoga to the deity, and that Krishna accepts only certain types of foods. There are certain things that he will reject. So we only offer to Krishna what he wants. All these things are directed by the spiritual master and by the parampara. So we chant Hare Krishna, but we do it under the direction of Krishna's representative, and in that way, the the effect of chanting Hare Krishna, which is that all the good qualities uh, develop automatically without separate endeavor, that process is accelerated by
mm.
chanting Hare Krishna under the direction of the spiritual master. Is that did that answer the question?
Yeah, perfect, Prabhu.
Okay.
Uh, uh, Basically, the summary is that it all develops by chanting Hare Krishna, but we have to do it under the order of the spiritual master, who will direct us as we need to act in a certain way. Are there any other comments or questions here?
I, I have a comment.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, in connection with the issue of checking various products to ensure they don't have eggs. Do you know why we don't eat chicken?
Why, Prabhu?
Because they have eggs in them.
If they have eggs in them. Thank you for the Hasyas, Prabhu. Are there any other questions or comments?
You know, today's verse is very famous, and Srila Prabhupada makes reference to this verse all over it. It quotes it everywhere. You'll find it all quoted all over throughout the Bhagavatam and in all of the books. He especially quotes it in his lectures. So a very important verse. And it's a wonderful feature of devotees that they are completely detached from their material circumstances. They just don't care. The way Srila Prabhupada explains it is that what they are concerned about is always remembering Lord Narayan or Krishna. And they can do that anywhere, under any circumstances. They are completely satisfied, completely happy, as long as they are remembering Krishna. They don't care for other external circumstances. That's not what their happiness is dependent upon. You know, every living entity is naturally pleasure seeking, but the devotees seek their pleasure simply in hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. Other circumstances don't matter. Neither heaven nor hell, but not even life or death. Srila Prabhupada describes that in one purport, that life and death are also um, different conditions, temporary conditions imposed by the material nature. Devotee doesn't care about any of these things. He is prepared to go anywhere for the sake of preaching, to give others the opportunity to hear and chant and remember Krishna, in service to Guru and Krishna. Devotee is prepared to go anywhere, and it doesn't matter. He's satisfied, he's happy in any condition because he always thinks of Krishna. He can't help but think of Krishna. That's the Narayana Parayana is he is always thinking of Krishna. So anyway, just some of my thoughts. We have a lot of time to kill. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your thoughts, Prabhu. Dasa Prem, you have your hand up virtually.
Yep. Thank you. Um, just on this topic of like it just made me remember when we're talking about buying, being cautious of what we purchase. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious what other devotees think about um, there's some things that might go against your moral principles.
Prabhu, are you still talking? I can't hear you.
Is AI, like you can save so much time just typing something into AI, but morally, you might this AI. It's just like ruining people's lives, and what's the future going to be with AI? Like, it's not going to be a very sadvic world if we continue feeding into the system. Just my personal opinion. But then, if I type in a question in AI, I'm going to save time for hearing and chanting. So it's like I guess yeah, that's just the like in all the like Amazon, we purchase from Amazon to save time, but it's not exactly the most moral thing to do. Um, so that's my kind of question to
Sorry,
whoever wants to
but
answer.
you cut out for a little bit there. I think I kind of understood your question, but if you could just repeat the essence real quick.
To what point can we bypass our morality for the sake of devotional service?
That's the very simple question, Prabhu. I say sarcastically. Uh, but um, yeah, and in general, and in my view on it, or my thoughts on it, is that of course devotees are supposed to be very moral people and upstanding people. Um, but of course, there are cases, even in Shastra, of devotees going against moral principles. For example, during the Battle of Kurukshetra, uh, there are so many times where Krishna was actually inducing the Pandavas to go against Dharma. Like Arjuna shot Parna in the back, for example. Yudhisthira told, I think, probably the only lie that he ever told in his life while on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And all of these things. And of course, Krishna was personally there, like telling them to do it. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure it's necessarily even something that can be decided like writ large. I know it's a, time-honored Islam tradition to take flowers from the yards of neighbors to offer to Krishna, which might be a bit not exactly legal. Um, so yeah, and it's a complicated question. I'm not sure I necessarily have the answer. Um, but I think it goes back ultimately to following proper authorities. In that, if the spiritual master has the desire for the devotee to do something, even if it's illegal or according to the mundane calculation of the world immoral, then we go with what the spiritual master says. So therefore, and even bigger examples than stealing flowers. Uh, Prabhupada wanted people to go into the Soviet Union and preach Krishna consciousness, and of course, religion at all was illegal at that time. So we were breaking the law by doing that. Um, and there are other examples as well. So that's just kind of my thoughts. Now it seems, since I'm holding the microphone, that I took over from John Avatsala Mataji. So I gave an answer. I don't know if the other more learned devotees have any thoughts on this.
Yeah,
Okay. Hmm.
I was hearing recently how in the early days they would what was it? Oh, I can't, like the early days they would somehow steal devotees would steal. I can't remember the exact um thing that they would steal, what the context was, but and then yeah, and then like some devotee would be like, I don't know if this is right, but then he would be made to seem like some you know Puritan high horse, person. So I think we've come a long way from that, and like obviously I don't think we steal from neighbors anymore their flowers. Um, and I guess the Soviet Union. That's like okay, that's just some like totally arbitrary law that's just probably made to whatever keep their people oppressed in a sense. So that I could see bypassing, but like stealing, for example, or like doing things that are harmful to the environment, I guess that's where it gets a little tricky.
Yeah, and I think it all goes back to just following the order of the spiritual master. Because I mean, ultimately, I think what you're talking about in the essence is what to do when devotional service conflicts with dharma. Uh, because that's generally what we're concerned about. We're not so concerned with worldly conceptions of morality, uh, or I guess you'd say the atheistic conceptions of morality. Um, and we might be concerned with uh, you know atheistic conceptions of legality because we don't want to go to prison unnecessarily. Although we could preach in prison also. Um, but yeah, this is basically the entire Mahabharata is what to do when these conflict. And Krishna ends the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharma Pitiya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Hamsam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshami Masucha. So yeah, I guess just the order of the spiritual master is supreme. But we are out of time. Radha Damodar Ki Jai and Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.